Buenos dias. It is 2024, and it's astounding to me that we are speaking on a topic of food security. Um, and especially the last few years, it'd be interesting to see some statistics, how some of the world events, climate change, has still impacted the availability of food to a large number of people around the globe. So let me share with you a couple of statistics on this. Between 2019 and 2021, the cost of a healthy diet increased almost by 7%. About 42% of the people worldwide were unable to afford a healthy diet in 2021, and more than 700 million people faced hunger in 2022. Now, these are some of the statistics which I still say, this is 2024, and we still have to see this. And this have been further exacerbated by conflicts. So you can think about the war that's going on in the Middle East, the war in Ukraine, climate change, most of the disasters that you see from a natural disasters perspective, and finally the economic vitality. So that makes it even more important that we double down on some of the initiatives that we are taking to ensure that there is food and nutrition security. I, as well as the company that I work for, Bayer, we believe that innovation is really at the core of trying to address and help food and nutrition security. And that is a solution that will help us not only address food and nutrition security, but also address climate change. Innovation certainly can happen multiple ways. A place where we, at Bayer, focus on is through ag inputs, but also through digital and partnerships. When we look at ag inputs, there are some examples that I have here with crop protection. An example like Luna, which helps us in protecting the food that's being grown. So, I think some of the panelists talked yesterday about food loss and food waste. About 1/3 of the food that is harvested doesn't reach the consumer, right? And if you can increase the shelf life, then it has a huge impact on how you can improve food security. And Luna plays a great role in improving the shelf life of food. Another one, in terms of seeds, cauliflower, many times you go into a store and then you see on the grocery shelf a cauliflower that is perfectly fine to eat but has turned a little yellow. And that's pretty natural because as it gets exposed to light, the polyphenols start to show and it turns yellow. Many people think it's stale and they're not just going to buy it, and there's a lot of cauliflower that gets wasted. We have a product called Curtivex, which is persistently white for a long time on the shelf. So that's keep increasing the shelf quality while still keeping it as nutritious as it was in the first place. Digital solutions, we have a tool like GeoPotato, where we help smallholder farmers with digital information so that they know when to protect their crops and when to harvest, so that they are harvested optimally for the right quality at the right time for the consumers. So there are solutions like this where we spend a significant amount of our R&D. Typically, we spend about close to $2 billion at Bayer every year in R&D, and a significant amount of that is actually spent in the fruit and vegetable sector. And it is innovations like this that we bring forth to the consumers and to the farmers. Now, to see, these are actually, when I speak about them, they are more specifically called out for each of their own very role. But the future really is not about these individual innovations, but really a complex system that's put together that delivers holistically on the outcomes. And, when we talk about and say, okay, it needs to be really a system, it really needs to be a holistic outcome, A lot of time we get questions on how does that really look? And in order to make it easier, we actually put together a video to show what a future example could look like. And especially because we are in Almeria, we chose a farmer from Almeria on what are the different systematic solutions that he could have in order to enhance food security.
Almeria's farmers produce food for protective greenhouses. We'll call our hypothetical farmer of the future in Almeria Pablo. Pablo starts the season by selecting the newest De Ruyter tomato plants designed for protected agriculture. He chooses this hybrid based on Bayer's precision breeding expertise and good resistance against tomato brown rugose fruit virus. He's especially interested this season in the Bayer nematool, which helps him decide on BioAct and Vellum Prime. At transplanting, where Pablo moves his plants from the nursery into the soil, he applies Ambition, a plant activator that stimulates plant growth on new shoots, flowering, fruit formation, and harvest by helping the plants to quickly recover from abiotic stresses. Digital tools like Plant Balance help Pablo to make better and more efficient cropping decisions with data-driven insights. Based on in-season weather scenarios and a 2-week forecast plotted in the Insect and Disease Prediction tool, he's able to manage insects and disease risks effectively. As Pablo's crop approaches harvest, he doesn't want to spray anything that could delay his harvest or impact its marketability, so he applies Vinity Press, a pheromone-based product throughout his plants. At harvest time, the taste, color, quality, and transportability are crucial factors in the success of the operation, and De Ruyter delivers. His crop goes to the distributor with top grading. He also received a premium because through his use of the Bayer Residue tool, he was able to plan in advance to meet the pesticide residue standards of his customers. With the genetic improvements on disease resistance, biological solutions, sustainable traditional crop chemistries, all supported by digital tools, future farmers like Pablo will have more options than ever at their fingertips. They'll get higher yields and income while reducing water use, plus reductions in emissions per kilogram.
But all innovations, don't have to be as super cool as what you saw. And this is a great chart that shows that. And what a great place to talk about this point rather than Almeria. If you look the history of Almeria, and I think somebody was talking about that earlier, last week, yesterday as well. In the 1950s, this was a desert, right? I mean, it's very arid climate, not a lot of food being grown here. And now, more than, it says, half of Europe's fruits and vegetables are produced from Almeria. And it generates revenues of 4.5 billion euros and provides about 75,000 jobs. I plotted what were some of the innovations over a period of time that happened here in Almeria on the chart that you can see. In 1975, around that time, roughly hybrid seeds were brought in, and that boosted the productivity a bit. But the biggest increase actually came from 1985 to 2000, and then you'll see that on the graph, and that came after they started to put the plastic, they started to put the net houses. So basically starting to grow food in a protected environment rather than in an open field. And it's a very simple innovation, but changed a lot in terms of productivity and the ability of this region to be the food basket for Europe. Of course, there are other innovations that you can see that they're going now into climate control greenhouses, biologics coming into place, but not as big as the one that moved from open field to a protected kind of cultivation. So sometimes, small innovations can be very disruptive and can have huge, huge impact. And when we talk about smallholders, that's exactly what we need. We need to have innovations that are simple, that are easy to grow, quickly adaptable, and that will help drive that real increase in productivity. And the panel here today is going to talk a little bit more about those innovations. But as we also talk about smallholders, we need to keep in mind that the innovation is not just improving productivity, but also really having an impact on the lives of the farmers. And we've done actually a third-party impact study at Bayer where we used one of our tomato varieties that is grown in Kenya, Ansel. And what kind of an impact that growing that variety compared to other varieties have on the life of the farmers in Kenya. And those statistics, as you can see on the slide, speak well for themselves. So when we talk about innovation, when we talk about food security, my point, and that I would like the panel to take it on from here, is innovations really don't need to be some complex kind of stuff. It can be small, but very disruptive. So let's keep that in mind. Make it easy for the farmers. Make sure that you have an impact on their lives and not just on productivity. Thank you very much. Thank you. Melissa, over to you.
Thank you, Kishore, and thank you for doing such a great job for me in introducing the panel and what we're going to be talking about now. So, yes, exactly. Like Kishore said with his last slide, we're kind of shifting the focus now from European smallholders in Almeria to smallholders in Asia, in Africa, in Latin America, to look at their challenges, which can be very, very different from what we see here, and how we can provide innovations to them in their context, in their circumstance, and how this links to food security. Because when we talk about those regions, we're talking less about an affordable balanced diet, but more about really providing the basic necessities of food to communities. So I have here with me 4 wonderful panelists who will share with you their expertise on working with smallholders. Let me quickly introduce them so you know who's who. And I'll go around like this. So, Beatriz Arieta, Regional Manager for Food Value Chain in Latin America for Bayer Crop Science. Manfred Singh, Smallholder Partnership Lead for the Asia-Pacific region at Bayer Crop Science. Then we have Sheila Keynote, Vice President of Development Cooperation at the African Fertilizer and Agribusiness Partnership. And last but not least, Yvonne Coloma, the Executive Director at Trip de Lemos Foundation. Thank you all for being here. So we heard in the keynote how the right innovations in the right context can really make a difference. And we would like to now understand better of how we can bring that to an outside of Europe context. So let me start with you, Haman. What are the key challenges that you see smallholders experiencing in developing countries? And how does your work relate to them? And maybe just a little bit for the audience who might not be super familiar with smallholders, how do they contribute to food security? What is their role in that?
Sure. Thanks, Melissa, for the question, and thank you for having me here. This topic, I'm very passionate about this topic. So let me give you a bit of a context. So there are around 500 million smallholder farmers, especially in lower middle income countries, and they produce 80% of the food consumed in those parts of the world. The success of smallholder farmers is very critical to ensure food security because we are going to add around 2 to 3 billion in population by 2050. So if we are not able to ensure their success, it would be very difficult for us to meet our food security measure. And also, let me also share that smallholder is also not a homogeneous group. Some of them are just trying to feed their family. Some of them are very successful as well. But the large part is in between, who are trying to unlock their farming potential. It is this group that with our smallholder farming engagement, we are trying to unlock their farming potential. And we have a commitment to support 100 million smallholder farmers by 2050. And the problems of smallholder farmers are too many and too complex for any single organization, to solve. It is with this belief that we have, taken a partnership-led approach. I would just like to share one of the engagements which we have with Bayer. It's Better Life Farming Alliance. We have created this alliance in 2018 with like-minded partners like IFC from the World Bank Group, Yara, Netafim, and along with Bayer. We are supporting around 1 million plus farmers in multiple countries across Asia, Africa, and Latam through our Better Life Farming centers. So this is a approach which we have co-created with smallholder farming communities, with like-minded partners. So we create an ecosystem which allows smallholder farmers to gain last-mile access to products and services which would help them unlock their farming potential. So I'll just like to explain the model in detail a bit. So on one side, we have our value chain partners. So we are working with around 20 plus partners across the globe. So with the help of them, we create an ecosystem. So for example, we have partners across fertilizer, crop nutrition, crop protection, irrigation, credit, finance, and off-taking. So with the help of them, we create an ecosystem. And we are also delivering this ecosystem through a physical last-mile access approach by creating Better Life Farming centers. So these centers are run by farming community themselves. So each center serves a geography of around 4 to 5 villages. And we have model farms. We train, we do capacity buildings, of the farmers on those model farms with the help of our partners. So it's a bottom-up approach which we have followed, and we are already supporting 1 million plus farmers, with them.
Thank you very much. Now to Sheila, you bring in the NGO perspective and the African perspective. So I would like to ask you essentially the same question. What do you see as the main challenges for smallholder farmers in Africa? And what in your experience can be ways to help mitigate that and enable farmers?
Good morning, everyone. Africa really is a continent that's grappling with a lot across many sectors. And agriculture is one of the largest sectors in Africa. 80% of Africa really survives on agriculture, and many of these are smallholder farmers. When you look at Africa today, the challenges are very many. We have high debt, a vulnerable macroeconomic situation. We have depreciating currencies. Our soils are degraded. There's just a lot that's going on. Then we have the smallholder farmer, and for us, smallholder farmers generally grow food on about, 2 acres, a hectare, 2 hectares. And that is supposed to be their livelihood. That is supposed to be, their source of income, their source of food, their source of everything. So it's difficult. So I'll hone in on just 2 areas because there's just so much I can speak about. But I'd like to hone in on just 2 areas. And that would be the finance and adoption of new technologies, because we need to ensure that the farmers have financing to support themselves and their families and their livelihoods, and better and improved technologies to improve their production. So on the first one of finance, that one for me really catches at my heart, because today in the world, we see financial institutions insisting on lending to the farmer who cannot afford to repay. When you look at interest rates in Africa, they range from about, 18% to even 50% repayment. How can a farmer pay you 50% repayment from a 1 acre, 2 acre piece of land? It's just not possible, it's not viable. So I'm urging the stakeholders in this room to be advocates I don't know if there's a financier in the room, but we need to start knocking on the doors of financiers. They need to go back in time. We need to go back to history. It's the small. If you expect that a farmer can pay your loan, why can't you help them save first? Borrowing is saving in advance, right? Because if they borrow, they must pay. So why can't we stand up and support the farmer to save? When you look at the Asian tigers, they grew on the back of savings. They grew on the back of savings. And we need a savings culture, but this culture of borrow, 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 then you go and try and auction the farmer because they can't pay you, it's just not feasible. So what we've done with support from Bayer, and thank you, Bayer, for allowing us to try, you funded us and you believed in us. We told Bayer, the farmer can save to buy their input, saving for input, savings for livelihood, savings for growth. We've been able to see the farmers save, and I'll just hone in on a country, Malawi, where the GDP per capita is about, what, 450? That is nothing. It is so small. Most of the country lives on less than $1 a day. But the farmers understand the importance of utilizing improved technologies, and they want the best, and they want the best harvest too. So what did we do? We brought the farmers together through, in a sustainable manner, supporting the SMEs that support the farmer. These are the agro-dealers. The agro-dealers are last mile access to inputs, and through them, we found them as shopkeepers. We enabled them to become not just shopkeepers, but also to become, the service providers of extension, service providers of the inputs, service providers of the finance through organized groups. I was happy yesterday when we were talking about the cooperative movement. The cooperative movement does really work because, when you have the numbers, then it's easier to support the farmer. We brought them together, and in Malawi, we're working with 100,000 farmers with Bayer. We brought these farmers in groups of 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20. 25 of them make a cluster. So there's a way in which we structured extension through the agro-dealer, who has an extension agent, then has a community agribusiness advisor, an agripreneur really, who would then work on commission to group the farmers, support the farmers in terms of saving, accessing the inputs and all that. And in Malawi, even a penny is so much, but these farmers were bringing a penny a day saving for a whole year to just buy 2 bags of fertilizer, 1 bag of seed. And we succeeded. Last year, the farmers saved over $1 million, and we're like, excuse me, did you just say $1 million? In small pockets, small pockets. And if you ask Bayer today, they sold out their seed in Malawi before the season on farmers who earn less than $1 a day. In fact, Bayer had to send BCG, Boston Consulting Group, to check what exactly is going on there, because we can't quite pinpoint it. There is something, there's a revolution there. And we said it is savings. We are not indebting the farmer. So the financial institutions need to take a long-term view in investing in the farmers, support them to save. Once they save, they can afford the inputs. Then they start growing. Once they're able to grow, they become bankable. But this short-term, microwave kind of wanting success, immediately instant results, you just want their money, but you're not supporting them, will not work. Now, in the same breath, let me move to my second point, adoption of new technologies. If you want the farmer, smallholder farmer, to take up a technology, you must also do things differently. A farmer, smallholder farmer, is very risk-averse, very, because they're just on a small plot of land. They will not take up your technology because you said it, or because you took them to another plot and showed some other farmer, lead farmer, planting and, producing crop that looks like this. They will not take it up. We found that with smallholder farmers, you must give it to them. Touch, feel, plant, watch it grow, harvest, eat. So again, with Bayer, we've been able to run what we call mother-baby demos on improved seed of maize, particularly corn. So with that, we would get a 10 by 10 as a mother demo, and we would show the technology there. Then we would give the farmer 50 grams of seed. How much is in 50 grams of seed? It's like about 50 grams of seed. Go try this on your field based on what you learned at the mother demo. But because they held it in their hands, they put it in the soil. Then every day they watch it against their practice. And usually this 50 grams is just on 2 rows of 10 meters with the right gap, right spacing, right fertilization, right everything. And through this season, every day they watch this crop grow. And then they harvest it. We get rapid adoption. Rapid adoption. So we've been able to, through that way of working, been able to increase sales where those low reach. So we must utilize very old technologies. They're still relevant today, like that. If you want a farmer to adopt, don't imagine your big, model farm is good, but give them the seed to go try out. Tell them how to use it. They will adopt. Those today are my 2 areas of talking. If you want to support the farmer, help them save. If you want them to take up a technology, give it to them. When I was flying here, I like Clarence products, and I was in Madrid, and I went into the Clarence shop, and I bought what I wanted. Guess what they did? They gave me small packs of other newer products. And I came and I put it on my face, and I'm like, oh, I like this. On my way out, I'm going to pick it up. Why? They gave me to try it out. The same applies to farmers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for those insights, both of you. And here, I would like to engage the audience. This is your first chance to ask questions to the first 2 panelists before we move on to our remaining panelists, who will give more insights of how we can connect the smallholders to the markets. But please, yes, I see there's first questions.
Thank you so much. I just want to share my absolute passion for what you do. This is a session I was the most excited for out of the whole conference. So thank you very much for that. It's very inspiring. From both of these previous speakers, we heard a lot about the need for human capital. Extension advisors, financiers, we speak a lot about the support that these farmers need on a personal level. We always say in our company, farmers trust people, farmers buy from people. And something I'm just wondering is throughout the whole conference, we've been speaking about the agricultural sector's challenge to get the youth involved. All of these companies worried about where's the next generation going to come from. And honestly, this morning sitting here, I was a little bit heartbroken that this auditorium is not full. Because in every speech, we talk about how important smallholder farmers are and how they are the key to food security in the long term. And I'm standing here wondering, these of us who are sitting here are really passionate about that topic. What can we do to motivate the people who we are going to need to contribute to the human capital that we require in the future to scale all of these ideas that we are finding that are working? Because we're going to need people. So I was just wondering, from your experience, when you are expanding your teams, where do you go about finding the right people who are bought into this mission, and how can we make more of them?
Maybe I can take a first jibe. So I think you brought a very important point. So what we do in India, in Bangladesh, in Indonesia, wherever we are present, we try to engage a lot of universities and school. We take that effort to go there, engage especially the passing out students there, show them what we do, because we strongly believe we need fresh ideas into the system, and also we need to co-create. So we are trying our bit. There's a lot of communication which we also create and outreach to colleges. We try to create internship opportunities, so then we are able to give them a sneak peek into this world. So we are trying our bit, yeah. But of course, there is a scope to do much, much, much more.
I think policy. We really need to engage policymakers because we've seen Now, this is from an Africa perspective. We've seen agriculture eliminated from education. We need education from a very early age. We need, from kindergarten, we need to have ag education, practical ag education. And the youth of today are in the digital world. They want the swag, they want the slay, they don't want the down and dirty. You must bring in all that so that they can see that, you know, and when they like to use the word, we want the sexy in the agriculture. We must give it to them. Then we must also remember when COVID happened, you know, I keep telling people, when COVID happened, we ran so fast and locked ourselves in our houses. But what did the world do? Everybody ate. The entire world kept eating. Now, if the farmer was not producing food, then we would have had a bigger crisis. We would have had a bigger crisis. Now would have died of hunger, not COVID, hunger. So sometimes when we are even coming up with these policy issues, we need to use live examples like that. We need more people in the sector because when we have a crisis such as we did COVID, everybody ate. Nobody did not eat. Why? Because agriculture, cultivation was going on. So we need to go back to policymakers. We need to embed this into our education right from childhood and in a practical manner. We need to ensure that we also, even from school, bring on board students into, you know, the ag space and for them to see so that they can appreciate it. The way they appreciate wanting to be a pilot because they see the planes, they want to be, you know, the doctor and all that. We can do the same in agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
My name is Raj, and I can, you know, have similar sentiments as Michelle for the smallholder farmers. I do bleed for it, and really looking forward to this discussion. Over the last, you know, couple of days that we've been deliberating things, it's in Almeria, and you are really appalled and with what has happened here from where it started, and Venkata also talked about it this morning, and I've been thinking for last couple of days, how is this replicable? Is this replicable, and can we do it with the smallholder farming? The video was insightful because suddenly it dawned on me that, you know, it's not just about replicating technologies, because if you go and replicate the technology, the market should be able to pay for it. And if your GDP per capita income is, let's say, $7,000 versus $400 for Malawi, and you do all this technology, and the farmer does all that, who the hell is buying that vegetable? So there has to be a technology which is appropriate for each country. You can't just go and copy this. So from your example, two things that you talked about, saving and technology, my thought was, when you start saying technology, I'm saying, hey, what is she implying by technology? And when you take it back to Africa, this is just not replicable. I get your point. It's all about the good variety of seeds, which is not possible, or a good fertilizer, which may not be possible. But pricing it to that market, I don't even know whether the companies understand that, you know, there is your customers' ability to pay for it, and therefore it has to be priced accordingly. And even if it is possible, I'm just not sure. So you produced it in Europe, and you try selling it in Africa, and you take the freight of, you know, carrying it to Africa and producing it all over, makes it expensive. So the right technology is something worth exploring. So this is not just a question. My question was more on the saving, and I like the idea, and I want to explore that idea. Saving, you said, make the farmer save, don't make him indebted, get them into the... In my mind, and I'm really trying to understand that, saving is a culture. You know, it's a culture where inherently in economies which struggle, there is a culture of saving. Why? Because you've had crisis, and you realize that when you have a crisis, you can't seek help. It is, you know, you just go back on your own resources that you have. And I'm thinking smallholder farming, this is subsistence. Doesn't have enough money for food, forget about luxuries of even education. Okay, things that we would take granted sitting around in this room. If I don't have enough money for food, how am I convincing? And I don't even know as the role of the bank in trying to help save. I'm trying to understand from your perspective as an NGO, how do you help that small farmer who's involved in subsistence, how do you help them to save money? How do you get them to think differently, saying, you may not have money to eat bread today, let's not eat bread, let's eat half a bread, but let's save that money.
How we've been able to do it, as I said, in Malawi, the GDP is what, 450? But the farmers know and want to use that improved technology because they've seen that they're able to harvest and take some to the market. So for them to buy that one packet of seed and, you know, maybe just to grow 2 acres, they save for an entire year. An entire year to just save to do that, but they save in groups. They save in the groups of 20, then they lend, throughout the year they lend to the group members and they pay with interest, but low interest. Now, we say when you're able to bring them in groups, 5 groups make a cluster, then you're able to have an account. In fact, we should have tailored accounts for this kind of farmers. We used to have agricultural finance banks. We need them back that actually support this sector. So if you help them save, they can put the money in the bank instead of putting it, you know what they do in Malawi? They get this, you know, the hard case, then they have 3 padlocks, and there's 3 people with a padlock. Now imagine someone runs away with that case because the money is in that box, but they don't trust the bank. They say the bank just wants to take their money and charge them high rates, so they'd rather put that money for 1 year in a case. So if economies of scale, if they were able to save over $1 million, farmers on less than $1 a day, that money is bankable. And what it is, when those farmers, actually how they grow and are able to do this is because they see, when you look at the village, there's not much to do. But now these groups become producer groups, they just become so many things. It morphs into its own life. They form a business, they grow, and they're able to do more than just farming. Because now there's a little money that they can even use to buy, maybe sell bread, do whatever it is. So we also introduce them to other enterprises. What would you like to do as you're saving your money? Then through that, when they grow that money, shilling by shilling, penny by penny, it can get to the bank. If that $1 million, a lot of it was in cases of 20s, and then they went and bought that input. It is bankable. So you just have to be innovative. You must domesticate, as you said. The Almeria, I mean, when I was flying into Almeria, I was just amazed. I was just seeing all this white. To be honest, I had not even done my research. I should have. And I was just like, oh my God, what is this? As soon as I landed, I made Google my friend. I had to find out, what is this? Because when I was landing, I'm like, oh, these are greenhouses. And when I read, I went to the NASA site, I was just fascinated. And then this was a desert. It can be done. It can be replicated and domesticated. But you have to work with the people in that area to be able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm sure there's many more questions, but I also want to save enough time for our 2 panelists because they also have a lot of interesting insights to share. And Sheila, you brought up a very important point in your last answer, the connectivity to markets. Providing access to products to smallholders, helping them increase their productivity in their yield, only translates to more income and to more food for all if we can make sure it reaches the market. And here I would like to ask you, Bea, as the regional food value chain manager, what do you see as the key challenges for smallholders to connect to markets, and how can we facilitate these linkages?
Thank you so much for having me here. Good morning. And I have the same feeling as you, because I was expecting to have, especially the students, because we are thinking about having these tools for small farmers, but thinking from their needs. And one very important is the access to commercialize better the harvest. But to do that, they need to improve their producing manner. So we designed this service, which name is BuyGap Verify. And we are trying to link the farmer with the final consumer. And yesterday, we was hearing about the importance of the consumer, knowing what is behind the produce of they are taking from the supermarkets or from everywhere. And I just want to ask you as consumers, how many times are you asking yourself where these fruits come when you are buying them? And we are not used to do that as consumers. But this is, yesterday we were hearing from the panelists that it's very important to teach the final consumers. So this tool is designed for the small farmers to go to the local markets in developing countries especially, because there we don't have, I come from Colombia, and there we don't have good agricultural practices protocols. So we need to give first the information to the farmers. So the first step is to train the farmers about good agricultural practices. And how do we do, and how we could engage the young people through digital. And we designed an app to train the farmer very easily, and thinking about the internet rural connection that is very bad in developing countries. So we need to design this tool to be available for the farmer in the village. They are going once a week, downloading the information and going home to study and to learn how to produce better. And then we have to verify. We need someone to verify that he's doing things right. So we have two manners. One is directly from the buyer, the trader, the off-taker of this harvest. And in Latin America, we are using a third party, which is a company that provides us a digital verification. So the farmer could upload the information, and a third party is verifying that the farmer is doing very well things. And these are two possibilities for the farmer. And I thought that at the very beginning it was very difficult for the farmer. I am working with indigenous people, and most of them are women. And my initial perception was that it would be very difficult for them to have an app, to take photos, to upload the photos into the system. And I found that on Monday we trained them, and we trained them by phone, because the company, the verifying company, is in Brazil, and they are in Ecuador and in Peru, very far away. So they did the training by phone or by Teams. And then next Friday, all of the farmers were uploading the information. So they are able to do what we are training them. And this is a very important point, because most of the people think that the farmer is not able, or that they don't want to. But the young people working with us in this project is very, very engaged with this kind of tools, digital tools. And then we need to go to the recognition. And yesterday, we saw from a student group that we could have this kind of QR codes in the fruits to show to the final consumers what is behind the fruit. And from my experience, the most important here is to show a very emotional story. So when you scan this QR code, you will find first a video from the farmer saying, thank you for buying my produce because you are helping me, you are helping my family. My children are allowed now to go to school instead of working here with me. This is the first part of the video, so it's very emotional. And when we started, we did some interviews to final consumers. And when final consumers see the video, all of them smiled. And they say, oh, I am helping him. So this is very emotional. But we cannot trust that just putting the QR code, it will be clicked. So we need a complete campaign in the supermarket to show to the final consumer that there is a special information for them. It is not enough to put a QR code. We need to catch the attention of these final consumers that are in a supermarket, just going once a week maybe, and we need to show them that there is a very special information. And then, in the platform we built, the supermarket can choose or can say to the farmers, I need this amount of tomatoes for the next season. Who could bring me these tomatoes? And the farmers say, I can, and they are linked into this platform. So the case study yesterday is such a solution we are developing 3 years ago. Now we are online in India. We are having supermarkets and farmers engaged with this solution. And I hope we will engage very well the young people because we need them. And I feel the same as you because I was expecting, especially the students today, hearing that their ideas are a reality in our tool. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bea. And let me go to Yvonne now. So I started the panel by explicitly saying we're going to focus on smallholders outside of Europe. But just because the farmer is outside of Europe, it doesn't mean that Europe does not influence their operations. So can you please tell us a little more about that?
Thank you, Melissa.
Ooh, sorry. Here you go.
Thank you, Melissa, and good morning to everybody. And Sheila and Hannah, Bea, show us many different realities about the food system in the world. But we must keep in mind that our main goal is to feed a growing and urban population with sufficient, healthy, sustainable, adequate food at affordable prices. And there, the smallholders have a very important role. The markets are interconnected, and the challenges we have will only be resolved if they are approached holistically as a food system. From Triptolemos Foundation, that's a private and independent international institution created in 2002, with the aim of promoting the balanced development of the sustainable global food system and contributing with its actions to adequate and sustainable food, where the motor of the system is the responsible business activity based on science, technology, and knowledge. We have among our members 26 universities, companies, consumers, food banks, and also we have some collaborations agreements around the world. That's important because that shows that we must focus to find the solutions from a food system approach that I explained yesterday, that from Triptolemus Foundation, we define in 4 interconnected axes or areas. That's accessibility and availability, the policies, economy, and culture. And the 17 development goals are aligned. And the idea is that the 4 axes must be in balance. We saw many examples yesterday and starting today that when there is one of the axes, they are not in balance, we have problems. Sheila talked about policies, or even education, or even economy. The food system is very complex, but that's the only way. And to answer your question, Melissa, I must refer to the European Green Deal. As you know, the policies frame the European Green Deal mark the roadmap with the European Union aims to achieve a sustainable and climate neutral economy between now and 2050. And if I refer in general terms, the aim is to reduce the environmental and climate footprint of the European Union food system and strengthen and resilient guarantee food security in the face of climate change and the loss of biodiversity, and lead a global transition towards competitive sustainability that also allows generating new opportunities. I emphasize that all production systems must contribute to achieving these objectives, from organic to more industrialized agriculture. All are part of the food system, the big, the small, the medium, etc. And if I refer to the size of farms, it must be considered that the farms, the strategy, the farm to fork strategy is a challenge for the smallholders. And the additional cost and investments required may lead to a leap in the concentration of the agri-food sector, since only firms of sufficient size will be able to consider the change. Regarding the production and consumption, I must say that the European Union is not autosufficient. I mean that the European Union is a world reference in production, transformation, and sustainable consumption. But the European Union is not self-sufficient from a food energy perspective. So the European Union is vulnerable. The deficit in agriculture production that I'm referring could increase the need to import food from third countries, which may or may not be guided by the same principles determined by the European Union in its Green Deal, which is that new sustainable policies carry the risk of unsustainable imports. And maybe even we should consider too that maybe some export could even be questioned. So that's the reality. If I refer to the European Union in the international food market, the environmental ambition of the Green Deal will not be achieved if Europe acts alone. The causes of climate change and biodiversity loss are global in nature, are not limited by national borders. Without going any further, Europe imports practically all the soy consumed there, as well as significant quantities of meat and other essential agricultural products. I recommend for you to reading the Triptolemus report on, that there was a very nice study about the impact, the report on the impact of the Green Deal from a global sustainable point of view, which it was elaborated that there was the 30 researchers, they participate on this study, and I think it's a very interesting element to consider, just to understand what's going on with the Green Deal. And maybe I can add, as I don't know if it's summary or so, well, the importance of the food system for sure, that we only, from the approach of a sustainable global food system, which consider the availability of food, the economy, policies, culture, in balance with the support of science, technology, and responsible business activity, as well as responsible consumers, I'm referring to food waste at this time, can we face the food challenges of the 21st century and achieve sustainable and socially balanced development with a minimum guarantee? So, Europe is deficient in food energy, as we see. Europe needs to import products with the same quality and food safety standards adapted to the European Union. That suppose an opportunity for the smallholders, because the smallholders are a very important part of the global food system. So maybe we should think about collaborations, about alliance, about meetings even between smallholders, the European Union smallholders, and European Union smallholders from non-European Union. That's maybe a possibility. Just to talk, just to discuss, just to see, because the idea is those of us who are involved in the global food system from its multiple areas must all row in the same direction to face the great challenges we have. That's my thought.
Thank you, Yvonne. And I think it links well to Bea's topic, right? We need to connect the smallholders to the markets and have an interconnectedness and exchange there, just like we need to, on a bigger scale, connect the countries and the governments and all the different stakeholders of the food systems to each other, again, back to the farmer, and have this interchange.
And you know, it's very important that the three of us talked about the needs of the smallholder. And if you look at Africa, and if you look in Asia, or if you look into the conditions in Latin, are the same. They have the same needs. So maybe this is a very good idea I want to share between the different continents and the different perspectives, local perspectives, and going into just one committee or something like that. It's a very, very good idea, because the needs are the same around the globe for smallholder farmers.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So here, I will give another opportunity to the audience to ask questions to now all four panelists. I see there's already a hand up. More hands up. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. It has been an interesting panel. I really am enjoying every part of it. I had a question as it relates to, we're talking about smallholder farmers accessing market and that interchange and the needs that they have within their business, if I can say, but how many of them are aware of that link of how far they can go or of how far their products go? Because I believe sometimes, as Mr. Raj mentioned, they are producing in terms of subsistence and they're looking really within their households, but how many of them are really showed how far their product can go from their small farm all the way to a retail store or to an industry processing them into something else, which I feel maybe there could be a gap there. Maybe that's why there's no need or motivation to see, especially even with the young generation, because they're thinking, oh, I'm limited to just, I grow them, I sell them as near as I can to my house, and maybe they're not aware of how big the system can be in that regard. And to the last speaker who just shared with us, I think I don't know how to link those two things, but how will we be able to balance, let's say, the requirements of the European Union in terms of food safety standards and all of this, and the reality that sustainability has a price, and most smallholder farmers and the communities around them are not able to consume or buy products at such a price that comes with the cost of implementing such strategies in terms of sustainability? Thank you.
I will take the first part, and I think it's through partnership. And the involvement of the government, as Sheila was explaining, is very important. And in the pilots we have with BIGAP Verify in Ecuador and in Peru, the government is involved, and he's giving to the farmers the greenhouses, and they are really small. They have 500 meter squares of greenhouse, so it's really, really small. But through partnership, we can really reach this farmer to the supermarkets. And from my experience, we are working with the private-public organization in Ecuador, who's really giving us this access not just to the supermarket, but also to the small farmers. And my answer will be through partnerships, including the government, because it's impossible to reach. They are very spread into the countries, and reach each of them to go to the supermarket is very, very difficult. But through these partnerships and through this working directly with governments, I think it's one way, at least the way I know, and it really is really a success in the pilots I have in Latin America.
If I can just add to the first part. So one of the trends which we are seeing, especially in Asia, smallholder farmers, is collectivization. The farmers have started to come together as groups, as collectives, as farmer producer organizations as well. So, and they have started to reap the benefits of that collectivization, because together, they have been able to send their produce to European Union, to Middle East, to US, and they have started getting the higher price for their produce and getting the benefits of getting integrated into the value chain. So I strongly believe, especially for smallholders, collectivization is the key to get access to market linkages.
Thank you both.
And also, I just want to add that regarding at Raj's question, I think another very important point of the solution is the information for the farmer. And we need to train not just on good agricultural practices and how to produce better and more, but we need also a finance tool. So maybe we can think about having a finance model into our system or our service, because until now we don't have it. We are just focusing on the producing, but maybe through education. We need this education, and I think for the small farmers it's very important to have these digital tools to really from first hand know the general, and then going, for example, to the Better Life Farmings to really know more about it and to have the information available, because in many cases they don't know how to do it, and through these digital solutions maybe could also help for the solution. It's very complex, but we are trying to touch some or the most important points here.
Thank you. So Yvonne, for the second part of the question.
Thank you for the question, because that's a key point. In fact, sustainability must be competitive. That's the idea. And what I can add is, in general, the adoption of measures in the production systems in the first instance, and also along the entire value food chain, will necessarily have a strong impact on the food market within the European Union that will condition the competitivity of the products of European brands, as at least initially. It is foreseeable that there will be an increase in prices due to the increase in production cost. And this can have a negative impact on the markets. And what can we do? Well, it's not easy. The food system is complex. As I said, we have different realities, geographic, climate, policies that we must respect. There is not just one solution, black or white. There is many. That's why we are here all together. But that's clear that the price, the cost, so sometimes listen about the environment and planet and so on, but also the diets must be at affordable prices. That means the people, consumer, needs enough money to buy it. So it depends on their own reality. As I said, innovation without legislation is not practical. Education is key. The policies, the economic, everything all together. So the message is as a food system, and everybody must row in the same direction to achieve the final result. I don't have the
Thank you. I mean, maybe to the panelists from the regions, do you see any practices already? Like Sheila talked about breaking down innovation in a way that it becomes accessible to smallholders. We talked about it a lot in terms of productivity or market access, but do we also see it already in sustainability aspects or regenerative agricultural practices where maybe it's not 100%, but we find ways to make it accessible and make it an option for smallholder farmers?
Absolutely. And as Yvonne is saying, I think first that these kind of solutions need to show to the farmer that they are receiving money. And we need to train them or teach them how to manage the money, because otherwise it would be impossible to change the culture of the people. And I think through in my experience, the digital part is super important, and we need to work on that to really make available the information for the farmer. And once the farmer is doing the things in the right way, producing and having information and having data from their producing plots, then we can help them to interpret this information and really take better decisions for them, for their families, for their well-being. But we need to start from one point, and we need to really teach them on how to get this data and how then to manage the data for taking better decisions. So absolutely, I think that it is a need not just to produce more, but the sustainability is a request from the final consumer, not just from the off-takers. It's the final consumer who is pushing for the farmer to show this data, and we have the resources and the tools to teach them how to do it. I don't know if you want to add something.
Any further questions from the audience? Yes.
Hi, I'm Esteban Brenes from Costa Rica, Incai Business School. Last year, and especially for you guys that are doing such a great job in helping small farmers around the world, we presented a case. It was located in Honduras. It was De Mi Tierra, it was the name. And it was a bank, a supermarket, and a technical, and a foundation that was providing supply of technical issues to the agriculture producer. What is interesting is about when we're talking about financing is that the supermarket was buying the product, but they were not paying directly to the farmers. They were doing through the bank. So it is a way of financing, making sure that the money goes to the right place and that the producers get the rest of the money. It's an interesting observation that I have. Actually, that case won the best case, the best teaching case in New Zealand last year. So it is an interesting model for you guys to take into consideration. And Beatriz, I think that what you're doing is similar in many ways. And I just want to add that for your thoughts.
Super, and thank you so much for the comment, because until now we're not working yet with the banks, but we need to include them, of course. And we also have another project in Honduras, and it's between Fives, the global producer, the global trader of bananas and pineapples, Bayer, and a local community that is producing corn. And they are now including Cargill into this model, and it's a very success project, because, again, the farmer is learning how to manage the money. It's not just producing more and getting more money. We need really to change the culture, and we are doing through this kind of projects. So thank you so much for the comment. I will take the note.
Thank you all so much. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but I would like to reiterate that the panelists will be here during the day. So any questions that you did not get answered yet, you can approach them off stage anytime, and I'm sure they will be happy to answer the question. Oh, okay. Can we make time for one more question?
I love students.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so I actually was going to speak in respect to another financial instrument to promote financial inclusion among the smallholder farmers, which is insurance, from the insurance point of view, because we already are aware that climate change is a thing, and building resilience among the smallholder farmers require this kind of financial inclusion as well. If we want to ensure that there's behavioral change along the value chain and the farmers are able to maximize the opportunity, what happens when the farmers are not adopting insurance? And then in the next planting season, if as a result of the devastating impact of climate change, the farmers are not able to go back and cultivate, we also are aware that farmers take input loan. If they take input loan and they are not able to pay back this loan as a result of the impact of climate change, what happens? How would this behavioral change even happen? And how would they continue to produce to feed the growing population?
I know that through at least in the Better Life farmings we have in Mexico and in Honduras, we are including the insurance companies, because we need to show to the farmer that there are some things that they cannot manage, and they will be secure if things are not going very well, for example, with the weather. And we need first to show them how to trust in this kind of companies, because I agree with Sheila, it is not easy to work with the farmer, especially including banks or these kind of companies to ensure the harvest. So we are doing now in Mexico and in Honduras through our Better Life farmings, and it is going really well, because the farmer is starting to trust in the system, in the finance system, which is not very easy, just because the comments coming from Sheila. And I think as much as partners we could include in this kind of projects, the solution is better for the farmer. So we are in this way, and if you have more ideas, please come and talk, because we need more and more and more ideas. Thank you for your comment.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. That's a great question to take us out.
Thank you very much.